Well, okay, fine. So let us go ahead. That is the first topic of the third unit of paper 2, and it is emergence of Indian nationalism. Now, to begin with, हाउ कैन वी डिफाइन नेशनलिज्म? राष्ट्रवाद किसे कहते हैं? देखिए, आमतौर पे देर आर टू पैरामीटर्स अबाउट नेशनलिज्म. द फर्स्ट थिंग इज दैट द फीलिंग ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर रीजन फील दैट दे आर इनहेरिटर्स ऑफ कॉमन लिगेसी. एक पर्टिकुलर रीजन में रहने वाले लोगों को जब लगता है कि उनका कोई कॉमन धरोहर है, देर इज अ कॉमन पास्ट. That is the first dimension. And second important dimension is that they have common future together. एक साथ वो रहेंगे तो they are able to make their future better. And they had, then there are different dimensions, like they are having common enemy. So that kind of feeling is generally are the ingredients of nationalism. तो नेशनलिज्म की जो भावना थी, कई लोग मानते हैं कि भारतीय लोगों में जो नेशनलिज्म की भावना की शुरुआत हुई, that came during the British period. Britishers, they have unified the whole of India, and then gradually Indian people became aware of the exploitative nature of the colonial economy. And then they begin to feel that we should get rid of these people who are ruling over us and exploiting us, and it's better that if we ourselves will rule our own country. And that has emerged during the British period. So we are talking about the causes of the rise of the Indian nationalism in this topic. Well, the first important thing, there are different reasons, and there could be one reason which is more important than the other one. There could be one reason which is kind of beginning of nationalism, but nevertheless, we will be discussing it collectively. Not necessary that one reason is more important than the other one, but to begin with, scholars believe that it is the spread of Western education that has made a significant contribution to the growth of Indian nationalism in India in the 19th century. अगर हम ध्यान से देखते हैं तो हमें ये बात का पता चलता है कि भारतीय नेशनलिज्म में जो राष्ट्रवादी आंदोलन जो था भारत में, उसके जो नेता थे, उसके जो लीडर थे, आमतौर पर वो वेस्ट में ट्रेन होके आए थे. महात्मा गांधी बाहर से अपनी वकालत पढ़कर आए थे. आरसी दत्त के बारे में हमने पढ़ा है. सो मोस्ट ऑफ दिस पीपल दे हैव डन देयर ट्रेनिंग आउटसाइड, एंड इंटरेस्टिंगली इन इंग्लैंड. सो व्हाइल इन इंग्लैंड they become aware of the functioning of democracy, and they realize that the way Britishers are treating their own people is different than that they treat the Indian people in India, as they are being considered as the being ruled, and the people who are ruling over them, there is a marked difference. And so this Western education has made people aware of the ideas like democracy and equality, and that has become one of the important contributing factor to the growth of Indian nationalism. नाउ दिस लीडर जिनको ये डेमोक्रेसी इक्वालिटी की आइडियाज के बारे में जो जान चुके थे, दे स्टार्टेड गोइंग टू द पीपल, टॉकिंग टू देम, encouraging them, and then started writing column in the newspaper, and making people aware of their own right, their own dignity. So this is the first reason. Next is historical research. We have already studied about the Orientalism and nationalistic history writing. So these Orientalists, they have dig deep into the India's past, and they have taken out certain things, and they have made it aware to the world that India is not a backward civilization. In fact, in ancient time, India had a very developed civilization, काफी developed इनका civilization था, and that has instilled a kind of pride among the Indian people. The pioneering work is done by Max Muller, who wrote 50 books, the Sacred Book of Paste. And in that series, there is a significant number of the Indian books. Max Muller, he speaks very highly about the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita. And there is a James Prinsep who deciphered the Brahmi script, and it's because of his deciphering of the Brahmi script that the world at large came to know about the great ruler like Ashoka and the spread of Buddhism. तो ये जो historical research था, that has instilled the kind of pride among the Indian, and they begin to feel that as India was a highly developed civilization during the ancient time, and it's not right for us, it's below our dignity to be ruled over by the race which came from outside. Then third important cause was, Britishers, they have unified the whole of India, and then they have started military and civil services that used to look after the administration as well as to fight the war. And in that civil and military services, obviously, initially they brought a large number of people from England, but as their empire went on extending, they obviously needed the help of the local people. So they started recruiting local people first as a clerk, and then gradually these people, they started rising to the little bit higher position. We know about R.C. Datta. He was divisional commissioner of Orissa, but then he resigned believing that or he felt that there is discrimination in the civil services. So this kind of discrimination is felt by the Indian people. They begin to feel that we are equally educated and we are equally capable of this way, these European people, but nevertheless, we are always discriminated. And it's better that if we have our own rule here, we can be at a better place, we can be at a better position and have more satisfaction. And this discrimination is obvious there in the judiciary as well, because under the judiciary, there was a rule that the European judge, he can pass judgment on the Indian people as well as again on the European person, but the Indian judge cannot pass, cannot preside over the criminal proceeding against the European person. अगर किसी यूरोपियन पर्सन के खिलाफ कोई इल्जाम है तो वहां पर इंडियन जज नहीं हो सकता. वहां पर आपको किसी यूरोपियन जज को टेम्पररी बुलाया जाता था. मान लीजिए बाय चांस अगर भंडारा में किसी यूरोपियन के खिलाफ केस अगर होती है वहाँ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट में, और भंडारा के वहाँ के न्यायालय में अगर केवल इंडियन जज है, तो केस वहाँ नहीं चल सकती थी. वो या तो केस नागपुर आएगी जहां पर कोई यूरोपियन जज होगा जो उसको सुनेगा और बाद में अपना वर्डिक्ट देगा, या फिर यूरोपीय जज को वहां पर टेम्पररी बुलाया जाता था ताकि वो केस को सुने और बाद में अपना वर्डिक्ट दे. तो दिस वाज द डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. तो यहाँ पर जो लॉर्ड रिपन थे, उन्होंने इसको ठीक करने की कोशिश की. उनके जो काउंसिल के जो मेंबर थे, इल्बर्ट नाम था उनका, उनको कहा कि आप ये जो भेदभाव है जुडिशरी में उसको खत्म करने की कोशिश कीजिए. और इल्बर्ट ने एक बिल बनाया. बिल मतलब क्या, रफ ड्राफ्ट होता है. जब रफ ड्राफ्ट किसी काउंसिल में या पार्लियामेंट में पास हो जाता है तो वो नियम बन जाता है, वो कानून बन जाता है. पास करने से पहले उसको ड्राफ्ट बोलते हैं. तो ही मेड अ ड्राफ्ट, एंड उस ड्राफ्ट में ये था कि ये जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन था, दैट इज टू बी डन अवे विद. Now, Indian judge will also be allowed to pass a judgment over the European person, over the European accused. And this was not liked by the European people in India. And then they started agitation against all this movement of Lord Ripon. They said, this Indian people, they dislike the European people because we are the ruling race, and then they will take revenge on us. Indian judge will give a very strict punishment, and Indian people cannot be trusted. They don't have that kind of professional integrity. So there was a movement of people, the European people, they protested against all this, and finally Lord Ripon has to go. And this Ilbert Bill controversy, it has opened the eyes of the many Indian people who so far had faith on the judiciary of the Britishers. They begin to believe now that we cannot expect justice from these people. There is a racial discrimination. European people, they want to treat themselves as separate, more superior. They will never give us equality. Then gradually, as the education spread in India, they begin to understand the nature of the colonial economy. उनको धीरे धीरे समझ में आया कि it's because of the machine-made goods that started coming to India. हमारे यहाँ का handicraft, जो हाथ से बनाए हुए सामानों की जो छोटी छोटी व्यवसाय था, वो सारा नष्ट हो गया. Handicraft has been completely destroyed. And then Dadabhai Naoroji and R.C. Dutt, in his Economic History of India, they made it clear to the people about drain theory, how the huge amount of money is being siphoned off, is being transferred to India in the form of remittance, in the form of salaries paid to the member of the Secretary of State, in the form of the pension that is paid to the British civil servants who retired, and usually they went back to England. And then next important reason is socio-religious reform movement. When the Britishers came to India, along with them Christian missionaries came, and they used to pick up faults among the Hindu religion and Islamic religion. And they used to point out that this is the lacuna, this is the shortcoming in your religion. And Indian people, they responded. They reformed their own religion. And they not only tried to reform, they also tried to give counter argument, and making a claim that it's not everything that is bad in the Indian tradition. There are certain good things as well. And even someone like, uh, Dayananda Saraswati went ahead and said that Vedas are supreme. Swami Vivekananda's work, Ramakrishna Mission's work. So, all this kind of work, it has instilled confidence among the Hindus that we also have a good religious tradition. We also have a good, a good deeper philosophical thought in Upanishads and Vedas and Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana and Mahabharata. So, why should we be ruling over the people who are coming from outside? We are also equally capable. We do have a intellectual backing to support our system. So the social relations reform movement has also instilled confidence, and उससे लोगों को ये लगने लगा कि क्यों हम किसी के गुलाम बन के रहे। 1950 में एक रूसो जापानीज वॉर हुआ था। रशिया बहुत बड़ा कंट्री है। the part of Russia is in Europe and the part of Russia is in Asia, but it is still considered as a European country because the part is attached to Europe and they had long connection with European country. Japan was slowly emerging as an important country, as a strong country. And in 1905, the war was fought between Japan and Russia. And in that war, uh, Japan, a small Asian country, defeated Russia, such a huge country, which was considered as a European country. So this is also international information about this war has instilled confidence among the Indian people, and they thought that if another Asian country, Japan, can do that, why we should remain slave to the other European country? We can also have our own confidence. Then in the this growth of nationalism is a very long process. In fact, our paper is only up to 1905, so I'll not be elaborating much on the First World War. But during the different wars that the Britishers have fought, they had already recruited large number of Indian soldiers, and this Indian soldier used to cross the boundaries and see the world around them, and then they will come back with the more you travel, the more people you see, the more liberal minded, more broad minded your mind opens up. You won't take anything granted कि ठीक है भाई हमारे फादर भी गुलामगिरी में थे तो हम भी गुलामगिरी में रहेंगे. No, it's not like that. They have seen the people who are free, and then the Indian people, they started dreaming why we can't be free. Then the technological advancement that came to India with the Britishers, railways, post, telegraph, all these have started unifying the people. Railways, when people started traveling in the railways from one part of the country to another part of the country, uh, they begin to realize that we Indian people are suffering. We have common suffering. We are exploited. At the same time, it brought the people together. See, if you stay only in Maharashtra and never travel outside Maharashtra, you will never know what the people of Gujarat think, or what the people of Punjab think. But if you travel, you will come in contact with each other. So these railways have brought the people across the country together. During the National Congress annual session, the special railways used to be given, and the people used to travel. Indian National Congress, they used to have their annual session at the different places, sometimes in Lahore, sometimes in Madras, sometimes in Kolkata, sometimes in Bombay. The intention was to bring the whole of India together, and this together, when you come together, you realize that your strength. And so railway, post, now by post people are now connected. They could write letters, they could correspond. Mahatma Gandhi's letters are very famous. In a telegraph, they could, if there is some emergency, you can communicate with from people from Madras to to people in Punjab. Now, of course, because of the advanced technology like mobile telegraph is no longer, it's hardly used. But nevertheless, these were important factors which brought the Indian people together and created a feeling of unity. Yes, we are a part of one country. Then Britishers have unified the whole of India. Now the government servants can transfer from one place to another place all over India. So they have a similar kind of administration. There will be district collector, there will be tahsildar. So this similar kind of administrative structure had also contributed to creating the feeling of unity, creating the feeling of solidarity. If you have a feeling of unity and solidarity, you feel strong that yes, we can unite together and fight against the discrimination, maybe in a peaceful manner. Then, as the Britishers, they begin to realize that the Indian people are becoming more conscious. There is a more anti-British writings are going on in the Indian press. They try to restrict the freedom of the press, but this has angered the people now, as they begin to believe that the restrictions on the press is not at all good. The Britishers, definitely they want to suppress us. Then the revolt of 1857, people now started writing on revolt of 57, like Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, who calls it as India's first war of independence. And this revolt of 1857 has also given them a kind of inspiration. They begin to believe that the Rani Jhansi and Tata Tope, they became now national heroes. And the stories from the revolt of 1857 became an important rallying point, important thing that brought the people together. Then Indian people, as they earn education, as they were exposed to Western literature, they started writing their own history, as well as they started producing their own literature. And in that, Bengal was in the forefront. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, he wrote Indian novel on various themes like Durgesh Nandini or Anand Damat, and those novels definitely they had a germ of inspiration. For example, the theme of Anand Damat is there is a sannyasi, there are sannyasis who revolt against the oppressive ruler. So you can understand that the Britishers were generally allegorized as oppressive ruler, and the people Indian freedom fighter are generally portrayed in the disguise as sannyasi. So this Indian writing has also inspired the people. Neel Darpan is another drama, and in that Neel Darpan, it portrays the plight, जो जो तकलीफ होती थी, जो नील की खेती ब्रिटिशर्स करवाते थे बाहर के लोगों से जबरदस्ती, उसके कारण क्या तकलीफें होती थी उस ड्रामा में है। तो इस तरीके से जो इंडियन राइटिंग जो थी बंकिम चंद्र की राइटिंग, नील दर्पण जैसे ड्रामा, इंडिया या महाराष्ट्र में भी बहुत सारे लोगों ने राइटिंग लिखी, जिसके कारण लोग पीपल स्लोली बिकेम अवेयर ऑफ द एक्सप्लोटेटिव एंड ऑपरेसिव नेचर ऑफ द British government, and the feeling of nationalism was an obvious outcome. Christian missionaries के propaganda के बारे में I have already referred to, like they used to be very critical about the Indian gods and their tradition, and definitely people are bound to react one day or another. So that was also one of the important reasons behind the cause of nationalism. And apart from the restrictions on the press, there was this discriminatory law like Vernacular Press Act, which was very discriminatory. If you write anything against the Britishers, you will be put in the jail. Your newspaper will be seized. And this Vernacular Press Act was repealed by Ripon in 1882, and then there was an Arms Act in 1878, and it was again modified by Lord Ripon. Lord Ripon generally considered as a person who had sympathy for the Indian people, but then otherwise Britishers, many of them had a significant anti-Indian feeling, and Lord Ripon has to go back before finishing his tenure. Then apart from that, the forest policies of the Britishers had it had harmed the tribal interests, and tribal people, they again they revolted against the Britishers, and the Indian nationalistic, they tried to appropriate them, they tried to bring them within the fold of the anti-colonial struggle against the Britishers. Tribal लोगों के अपने कुछ grievances थे, उस tribal और peasant revolt, peasant के भी अपने grievances थे, जो taxation काफी heavy था, थी ब्रिटिशों की, दैट वाज नॉट फेवरेबल टू द पीजेंट। हैंडीक्राफ्ट सब डिस्ट्रॉय हो चुके थे, जिसके कारण पीजेंट्स की जो खेती करने वाले लोग थे उनकी कंडीशन काफी खराब हो गई थी। So there are different revolts, tribal and peasant revolt. Like there was Sannyasi and Fakir rebellion in Bengal from 1763 to 1800, and they were the wandering arm followers. They used to go around from one place to another place, the sannyasis and fakir. Britishers, they wanted them to settle down, but they revolted against the Britishers. Nearly 50,000 people, they rebelled against the Britishers. And there was a Bhil revolt in 1819, Ramoshi revolt in 1831. This happened in Maharashtra. Then there was a coal uprising in Bihar and Orissa. So, all these people, they had their own grievances, but nevertheless, the Indian nationalistic movement, they tried to join hands with them because they had a common enemy, that is British oppressive policies. Well, uh, now Indian nationalism. One important question is Indian nationalism is the result of the British domination? क्या केवल ब्रिटिशों के डोमिनेशन के कारण ही यहाँ पर नेशनलिज्म हुआ, या फिर पहले से ही भारत के लोगों में एक नेशनलिस्ट की भावना थी? ये एक अनएंडिंग डिबेट है, इसका कोई अंत नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन आपको ये डिबेट पता होना चाहिए। देर आर सम पीपल हु गिव एक्सक्लूसिव क्रेडिट टू द ब्रिटिश डोमिनेशन, एंड देर आर सम पीपल हु सेज दैट पहले से ही हमारे यहाँ पर विष्णु पुराण में जैसे कि एक सेंटेंस मिलता है, समुद्र से लेकर हिमालय तक भारत है। वेल, इट कुड बी अ controversial. People who want to prove one thing, they will pick up certain thing and ignore certain thing. I think it was a quite complex phenomena, and probably these both things have contributed to the growth of nationalism. Well, so this is where we end our this topic, that is the emergence of the Indian nationalism, and Western education, historical research, economic exploitation, socio-religious reform movement, drain theory, the Indian soldiers going abroad. All these are have one way or another have contributed to the growth of Indian nationalism. So, in case you are having any question about Indian nationalism, You can ask me now, otherwise we can go to the next topic.